going to start off this morning with a question from Doug Smith from the Toronto Star.
Hello, Nick. Good morning.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You said last week that one of the tenets of your coaching philosophy is that everybody on the floor should be able to shoot and shoot three-pointers. How did that evolve in the way you've coached the game, and how easy does it make it to just throw guys out who can all make shots or take shots at least?
Well, I think it. I spent a lot of time in Europe, Doug, and was playing that way for a long time, trying to get five guys out on the floor. Not only they can shoot, we like them to be able to do everything, which is handle, dribble, pass, shoot. Just so we can kind of play a spread the floor game, and everybody can make the reads depending on what's available. And really it's all about spacing. Doug, that's the other thing I always say. Offense is about creating space. And that sure helps when you got everybody out there that can shoot in space to the three.
Yesterday, you guys set a franchise record for made threes in a playoff game, 22. And during the seeding games, you were lamenting early missed threes in games. You went 0 for 8 one day, 1 for 7 the other. Is there any difference in the shots, or is it just some go in, some go out?
I think there was good shots, in all the scenarios, Doug. That's really, for me, when you're looking at your offense, are you creating the right type of shots? And I think we were in the early games, and for whatever reason, they weren't going in. Maybe it was just time off or rhythm or conditioning or whatever. And sure was nice to see him go down yesterday, that's for sure.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Doug. Have a good day.
You too.
I'm going to go next to Josh Lewinberg from TSN.
Hey, Nick. How you doing?
Doing good, Josh. How are you?
Good, thanks. Fred was just speaking to us about the process of extending his range. It's something that you've talked a lot about going back even the last year, is taking more of those deep threes like Kyle does. What was the thinking for you guys behind wanting him to do that, and what has that done to the offense in terms of opening things up now that he's able and willing to step out and take those deep threes?
Well, I think we've probably talked about this before, but it came a little bit out of necessity. Josh, he was not getting the shots off. He was getting a few blocked, and we needed him, right? We needed his spacing and his three-point shooting, and so we, just decided that, well, if he backed up a few feet, maybe 5 feet, that maybe they wouldn't be able to get to him as quick. And he went to work on it. Give him credit. He started really working on it, and I think it's just kind of just continues to grow from there. His range just keeps getting farther and farther out, which is good. Again, it's just more spacing, and it's hard to guard if a guy can shoot it at a really high clip, 8 feet behind the line. It's really hard to guard.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Next question goes to Scott Stinson from the National Post.
Hey, Nick. Last year in the playoffs, you said a number of times that you sort of weren't really aware of what was going on outside of what you guys were doing. People would ask you about everyone was getting into the Raptors and how exciting it was, and you just said, we're just sort of focused on what we're doing. I'm just curious if you find it easier to focus on what you're doing in this Orlando bubble, or if having all the other teams around and all the games kind of going on in front of you, it makes it a little more challenging to focus on the task at hand.
It's a little more challenging, but I kind of I think it's more challenging because when you're moving around here, the games, you can see them a little bit more on things, and inevitably they're showing highlights from your game or talking about your team or whatever, and so it's a little trickier that way. I tend not to follow too much of the playoffs. I know that's kind of hard to believe, but certainly watching the games that could potentially be our next round matchup. But other than that, I don't really want to. I just want to kind of, again, get back to work on the film of our team and our opponents in this series, so I don't spend a lot of time watching the other games. But it is a little harder. But we'll figure out a process where we can, again, get into our own little bubble within the bubble.
Do you find, do you think the players are finding the same thing? I'm wondering if they, with guys from other teams around and games on all the time, if they are paying maybe a little bit more attention to the other stuff that's happening in the other series.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really talked to them again. I don't think some of them, I think like to be, totally switched on to it all. And, I would imagine they, do it a little differently than I do, which is fine. I think whatever works for each person individually, but it's probably, there isn't a whole lot else to do in the bubble other than watch the other games too. So that probably adds to the fact of it too, right?
Right. Thanks a lot, Nick.
Yep.
Going to go next to Michael Grange from Sportsnet.
Hey, Nick. How did you guys work on extending the range? I mean, I know the players do a lot of individual work, but what kind of stuff were you guys doing maybe in, during their individual work to work on to deepen their range, or do you track their shots at 28 feet? What kind of feedback do you get to know that they're good shots?
Well, they just back up a little farther, Michael, and start taking more shots. That's it.
That's it, eh? You don't have lines taped on the floor, that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, sometimes we do some of that stuff, but I'm not trying to, give away any trade secrets, Michael. Am I?
I know it sounds very high tech. I know. Who would think of that?
Rocket science stuff. Yep.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, actually, while I have you, and as a benefit, obviously, of both Kyle and Fred being able to step back, do you find them having access to the paint a little easier? Is that a pretty obvious?
I mean, I think everybody does, Michael. I think that's again the whole point is being able to create even more space. Opens up bigger driving lanes and possibilities. Yep.
Thanks, sir.
Yep. You're welcome, Michael.
Next question is for Eric Kareen from The Athletic.
Hey, Nick. Good morning. When coaches talk about your team, especially in the playoffs, the first thing they say is we've got to slow them down in transition. We can't let them get going there. Your frequency in the playoffs is nearly as high. Last year, the efficiency wasn't quite as high. First of all, do you notice a difference in how opponents treat you in terms of transition to the extent that they can stop it? And what do they do differently if you do notice that difference?
I mean, sometimes you notice it, Eric. I mean, I think you notice it in certain games. And usually, again, not a whole lot of rocket science here. Is usually they get more guys back, which means they send less guys to the offensive glass, right? It's just a matter of they'd rather have bodies back, to start getting the matchups and slowing things down, et cetera. And that's really about it.
When it's a priority, I mean, it's always a priority for you guys, but when it's an extra priority because the opposition is dangerous, is it just, find a man? It doesn't matter what man, like matchups become less important maybe the first time down the court?
Well, I mean, for us, going the other way, I think you were talking about our offensive transition, but for us in defensive transition,
I mean, now I'm talking about your defense. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's making a good decision. I mean, first of all, you got to take care of the ball, right? There's no defensive transition if you don't take care of the ball. Secondly, you got to take what I call rhythm shots. So if you're taking shots that are surprising the rest of your teammates, they're not going to be, they're going to be a half a count or a full count away from making the transition, or at least the thought process to the transition. And then it's the next stuff that you talked about, running back really hard, finding your matchup or finding somebody in your area and starting to communicate.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome, Eric.
Going to go next to Stephen Lung from Sportsnet.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this. I just wanted to ask about Serge. He didn't have the best kind of seeding game period, but like last night it looks like he kind of got back more to the what we saw like kind of pre-hiatus. I just wanted to know like what you thought of how he performed last night and what you think that could mean moving forward.
Well, I think I like to take everything in its individual game, Stephen. Really good question. First of all, I think it's really important that we acknowledge that just because somebody plays good doesn't mean they're going to play good tomorrow, or just because somebody plays bad doesn't mean they're going to play bad tomorrow. I think Serge had some really good playing games. He was awesome. And then he had one or two that weren't so good. I mean, that's kind of where we are. That's like the reality of everything. This to me tomorrow, we're up 1-0, but that doesn't matter. It's a game that is going to take a whole different shape and form, and we got to treat it like it's 0-0 going into tomorrow's game, and that's the way the players do it. Tomorrow's a fresh day. If you played well, can you do it again? If you didn't play well, can you bounce back? Right?
Is there anything in that matchup against Jared Allen? Because Allen's a really athletic guy, and so is Serge. So is there anything in there that you may like that a little more than maybe Mark matching up against Allen?
No, I think they're both good matchups. I think Allen's playing great on top of it. So I like both guys against it, but I think it was a good opportunity yesterday to give Serge a really long run. I thought Mark played great. I could have went either way. I almost subbed Mark back in for the close yesterday, but decided to go a couple more minutes with Serge, and he made some good plays, so I let him finish for the most part. So I thought they both played well.
That's luck, Coach.
Yep.
Okay, the final two questions. We're going to move quickly because Norman Powell's waiting. Greg Logan from Newsday, go ahead.
Nick, can you give me your thoughts on the difference between Fred VanVleet last year coming off the bench and now this year being a full-time starter? How have you seen him improve, expand his game, and just become, a more complete player?
Well, he just, again, a lot of it's opportunity, Gregory. He's, obviously getting more minutes. And he's more confident, right? I think he's more confident in his shooting. He's certainly a great defender. He's a great leader. And I just think it's the minutes with the offensive opportunities have increased. Just kind of naturally, in that flow.
Did you have a sense that he would be able to produce the way he has this year before you made that move?
Well, I thought he was a really good player. I've thought that for a long time, and I like to get the best players on the floor as much as I can, and he's one of those.
And finally, last night, the Nets got a 33-point lead by 25 points. What did you see from them in that stretch? What do you take from that? And how does that affect your thinking going to the next game?
Well, they really stayed with what they do. They played fast. They drove the ball hard. They shared it. They really worked hard to create good offensive opportunities for each other. That kind of way they've been playing since they got down here. And, I think it was certainly a great reminder for us to understand how good they are, how good they can be. That was a impressive stretch by them. So it's a good reminder for our guys, hopefully.
Thank you.
And final question is going to go to Blake Murphy from The Athletic.
Hey, Coach. Just wondering, initially it sounded like O'Shea Brissett's knee thing was a day-to-day thing. You guys haven't had him for a while. Just wondering if there's an update on him at all.
Not right now, Blake, but there will be soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, Coach.
Yep.
That's all we got for you here.
Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.